Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Quick shout out to my newest patron, Brian S. Thank you for choosing to support the channel. It's looking more likely by the hour that we were on the right track with Monday's video. Beth Jezos shared a post saying, I think XAI having the only 1 gigawatt data center in the world currently and having others in development means if you think compute scales with models, that XAI will soon be the most valuable company in the world and completely trounce rivals. Jezos said the only way to skip past Claude Code is to do full computer use reinforcement learning agents, which they're apparently doing. They're playing to win. I will say XAI may have the only coherent cluster over 1 gigawatt right now, but the way things are moving in this field, that is not going to last for long. Basically, what this means is XAI is planning to leapfrog these AI agents altogether, like Claude Code, and instead build these RL agents that are trained end-to-end for full computer control. It's exactly what we covered on Monday, deploying millions of those human emulators. Elon replied to this saying Digital Optimus will superset everything except Physical Optimus. What Elon means is these digital optimi, which are XAI's Grok-based software agents, that apparently will be trained on full computer use reinforcement learning for autonomous digital tasks, just like we talked about, coding, browsing, software as a service, UI interaction, customer service, and so on, will superset, meaning contain or encompass and eventually go beyond basically everything in the current landscape of AI agents and tools, except for the Physical Optimus. And remember, we're not just talking about this as XAI having some crossover synergies with Tesla, but there's a very real chance the deployment of these digital optimize are on Tesla vehicles. I saw someone say Physical Optimus will be for the world of atoms and the Digital Optimus will be for the world of bits. All I will say for now is if you play these out over the next 10 years, things start to look pretty wild for the future. Speaking of wild, Metaphor said Tesla restarting Dojo equals Nvidia is too expensive. To which Elon said, well, we would literally need more dollars than actually exist to put 1 terawatt per year of AI in space unless we have cheap chips. Just some rough back of the napkin math for context here. Let's use a Blackwell B200 from Nvidia. 1 terawatt is equivalent to 1 trillion watts. Let's say each B200 is around 1,000 watts. You would then take 1 trillion watts divided by 1,000 watts per chip, meaning you would need about 1 billion B200 GPUs. If you assume the cost of each is $40,000, you would then take 1 billion GPUs times $40,000 each to get a total cost around $40 trillion. So this is where AI 7 comes in toward the end of this decade. The scale Elon is thinking about is far beyond what the average mind will comfortably comprehend, and it's precisely that scale paired with design efficiency and perhaps a Tesla Terafab that will unlock these cheaper chips to eventually scale toward Elon's ambitions. So XAI will not just be buying megapacks from Tesla, but will be buying very large quantities of AI chips from Tesla, furthering this flywheel for Tesla, XAI, and SpaceX. And it should go without saying, but at scale like this, Tesla not having to pay 60 to 70% margins for hundreds of billions, if not eventually trillions of dollars worth of chips is going to be quite material and beneficial to Tesla's bottom line. And obviously, numbers like this are not going to be hit in the next few years, so this is more of a decade plus type of play. However, the main point and the takeaway for now should be directionally, this is where everything is headed. And it's why I'll continually reiterate that the old Tesla that many of us grew to love is really a thing of the past. It will now just serve as the foundation and the bridge to these next chapters. As Sawyer said, XAI has now installed around 600 Tesla Megapacks worth about $585 million at Colossus 2. That's over 2.3 gigawatt hours of energy, making it one of the single largest battery energy storage installations in the world. In case anyone has not figured it it out, XAI's macro hard is a play on Microsoft, which I think is great. And on that wording, too many people are focused on macros, proteins, carbs, and fats, when the real alpha is optimizing for micronutrients, energy optimization, and vitality instead of just caloric intake. Both have their place, but there's a reason why AG1 has been a part of my life now for years. It's the sponsor of this video, but it has played a big role in supporting steady energy levels and supporting my immune health. I don't like to say it out loud, but the only sickness I've had in the past few years has been the vid. And as I've been dealing with post-parasitic problems, AG1 has helped to maintain my gut balance. AG1's next-gen formula has lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, which support microbiome diversity, digestion, immune function, and can help to reduce bloating. And no matter how great your diet is, you're likely not getting things like ashwagandha and rhodiola rosea that support stress resilience, energy, and mental stamina. And in this season, I need to be dialed in and fueled on a micro level to the max, and I know AG1 helps me do that. If you want to support the work I do here, you can use my link below to get a free AG1 flavor sampler and AGZ sampler to try all the flavors, plus a free vitamin D3 K2 and AG1 welcome kit with your first AG1 subscription. It's drinkag1.com/electrified, or you can use the QR code on the screen. To tie a bow on Tesla's patents from the other day that really boiled down to number manipulation, Elon said the distinction between float and int, or integer, diminishes as the number of bits decreases. In the limit of 1 bit, there's no difference. Also worth remembering that a float is just 2 integers, mantissa and exponent, with a lot of juggling. Once you get to 4 bits, you have 16 possible outcomes. You can then do whatever you want with those outcomes. Boiling this down, if you have a number with decimals, that can be broken down into 2 parts: the mantissa, which is the main numbers, and the exponent, which determines where the decimal actually goes. And I know if you're not a fan of math, all of this is going to feel like pulling teeth, and all you really need to know here is what Tesla has figured out is a way to manipulate numbers in the neural nets to ultimately make Tesla's AI work faster and use less power. So in computer land, everything is ultimately made up of bits. They're just tiny switches that can be a 0 or a 1. And adding a bunch of these bits together is how you represent bigger numbers. Again, integers are whole numbers like 1, 2, 20, 100. They do not have decimals, whereas floating point numbers will have decimals. As Elon said, as you use fewer bits in computer terms, making the number smaller, the difference between integers and floats starts to disappear. The easiest way I found to understand this: with 1 bit, you only have 2 options. It's 0 or 1. With 2 bits, then you have 4 possibilities: 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, or 1, 1. With 3 bits, you multiply by 2 again to get 8 possibilities, and then with 4 bits, that's where Elon said you get 16 different possibilities. So what Elon is saying, when you only have 4 bits in total, the old rules of how you have to deal with integers and floating point numbers really start to become irrelevant. If you only have 16 options, then sticking to those strict rules doesn't make sense anymore. And oversimplifying, with Tesla's patents, their breakthrough really has just been coming up with their own custom rules for how to play with these numbers. And it's right in line with what we've mentioned in the past, that term quantization, that's been the silver lining of hope for Hardware 3 owners, which is really just taking these numbers and squishing them into fewer bits while keeping all of the important stuff accurate enough. So in short, Tesla can now use fewer bits and still maintain enough accuracy, which means the models use less memory and the computers can do faster math, leading to less power used. So the contrast has never been more stark. Legacy Auto is laboring over hybrids or gas cars, whereas Elon and team are developing custom math. Today, Lemonade announced its autonomous car insurance, a first-of-its-kind product designed specifically for self-driving cars, starting with Tesla's FSD. The new offering cuts per-mile rates for FSD-engaged driving by about 50%, reflecting what the data shows to be significantly reduced risk during autonomous operation. Lemonade expects further reductions as Tesla releases FSD software updates. The launch is the result of a technical collaboration with Tesla, giving Lemonade access to vehicle data that was previously unavailable. Data captured then feeds into Lemonade's usage-based risk prediction models, already among the most advanced in the industry, to uniquely distinguish between autonomous and human driving, as well as predict risk based on the autonomous software version installed in the car, the precision of the sensors, and more. They said, "Our existing pay-per-mile product has given us something no traditional insurer has, a unique tech stack designed to collect massive amounts of real driving data for precise dynamic pricing." Lemonade does support intermittent use of FSD as well as households with a mix of Teslas and standard non-FSD vehicles from other manufacturers, all under one policy. Lemonade has stated its ambition to become the lowest cost, best experience insurance in the world. By connecting to the Tesla onboard computer, our models are able to ingest incredibly nuanced sensor data that lets us price our insurance with higher precision than ever before. And they said, beyond the product announcement today, we're also announcing our commitment to the Tesla community. The safer FSD software becomes, the more our prices will drop. The product will begin rolling out in Arizona on January 26th and in Oregon a month later. Tesla owners will be able to get a quote for the new product in seconds through the Lemonade app. To be clear, Lemonade is still offering its existing car insurance in 10 states as of now, but clearly this autonomous first insurance product is only going to be Arizona and Oregon, at least to start. Shai Wininger, the president of Lemonade, said Tesla's FSD is 2 times safer than human, so why are Tesla owners still charged so much to insure their cars? This first version brings native FSD support, allowing owners to instantly connect their Tesla to the Lemonade app. Once connected, we base our prices on actual usage rather than countrywide averages, making car insurance cheaper, better, and more fair. He said the Tesla team was amazing to work with, and Lemonade's autonomous car insurance is based on the AI and telematics infrastructure we've been developing for years. It enables us to track, adjust, and price policies based on actual usage and driving patterns. Since FSD 14.2 is at least 2 times safer than human drivers, we adjust to it and price miles driven with FSD at 50% of human-driven ones. And it's only the beginning. I'll pause here and say yes, Lemonade is a smaller company that will be needing more exposure, and piggybacking off of Tesla's success and virality is a smart thing to do. So, is this more of a marketing ploy, or is this what the actuarial assessment really dictates? We're going to have to let this play out to really have that answer. But clearly this is a partnership where Lemonade has access to unique custom data that we do not have. And they're saying the official data shows FSD 14.2 is at least 2 times safer than human drivers. So this is a tangible data point that none of the community trackers have been able to give us. Shai said, through our direct Tesla integration, our system captures detailed telemetry on trips and car usage. We collect the software version, hardware version, and sensor pack installed, all updated in real time. This allows us to adjust prices automatically for every mile driven and quickly adjust prices as new, safer versions are released. We're headed toward a world where your car and insurance update overnight while you sleep, becoming safer and cheaper without any effort on your part. As we evolve the product and FSD becomes fully unsupervised, driver age and driving history will no longer matter as pricing factors. A young driver will pay the same low FSD rate as their mom and dad. Naturally, you have some people pushing back on this, saying that they don't want their car's driving behavior to be tracked, and that's fine. No one's forcing you into a plan like this. But over the long term, if you want your insurance rates to trend toward zero, you're likely going to have to opt in to a plan just like this. I'm guessing the biggest question right now will be, well, what about Tesla insurance? Elon did chime in on this, saying insurance is half price when Tesla self-driving is activated because it increases safety so much. At the end of the day, insurance really boils down to actuarial risk. And every different company has its own algorithm and its own model, meaning ultimately it's willing to take on different levels of risk. A company like Lemonade that does one thing, offers insurance, that's a smaller company, needs to do whatever it can to earn market share to stay alive. Meaning Lemonade is likely to be more willing to offer very low rates to earn that market share and to get some marketing buzz. Tesla, on the other hand, does not have the same incentive to earn new insurance market share. Tesla insurance really is an afterthought when thought of in the larger picture of Tesla's business model. So Tesla insurance is clearly not a primary business for Tesla. And further, the more third-party companies that Tesla can partner with and give this data to, the more Tesla customers win, and ultimately the faster FSD adoption spreads. And right now, Tesla's insurance is only available in less than 30% of states, and Lemonade's autonomous product will be available in 2 to start. So they can both coexist for quite a while. But these first 2 states for Lemonade will be a great test because Tesla's insurance is available in both Arizona and Oregon. So if most of Tesla's insurance customers switch to Lemonade and things go well and Lemonade continues to scale, there is a world where Tesla would no longer have to deal with the regulatory headache of insurance if we finally have a company willing to offer proper risk-adjusted rates for Tesla owners. Tesla was never doing this to make money, it was doing it to help customers. But if someone else can offer it and work closely with Tesla and offer great customer service, which I hear Lemonade does, Tesla could eventually wind down its insurance offerings and focus on the core business. I do of course think this will take a few years to play out, and things will likely change again when unsupervised launches, as Tesla will then be taking liability, and that will certainly be a fundamental shift in risk mitigation. Right now, the average US driver pays $2,500 in insurance annually. Simple math, with Lemonade, that number could drop to around $1,250 if they use FSD all the time. That would be a savings of $104 a month, which is basically exactly the amount of Tesla's FSD with tax. So people will be further incentivized to buy a Tesla, cut insurance rates nearly in half, and then use that savings to effectively get FSD for free. To clarify, this new product from Lemonade does not change anything when it comes to the plan's personal liability and property damage. So this 50% reduction is only for the miles traveled portion, meaning to start in the real world, the actual overall savings are likely to be lower than 50%. However, as we discussed, over time, the rates are likely to come down as FSD improves. So if someone uses FSD all the time, then over time, they are likely to save in the neighborhood of 50% overall. Now, Lemonade certainly has a lot to prove here, but the fact that a public company is willing to tie the success or failure of its business directly to the safety of Tesla's FSD is a huge sign that they're quite confident in the safety data leading to reduced claims. And further, already committing to continually lowering prices as Tesla's FSD safety increases, which, in my opinion, is exactly how it should be. The lower the likelihood your car is to get in an accident, the lower your insurance premium should be, and to date, for most people, this was just not an option. Tesla started this trend on its own, but now it's getting validation from a third party, so hopefully Lemonade can scale quickly, and I will say it'll be fascinating to watch how the rest of the industry responds as customers start calling to cancel their policies. And don't forget about all of the headaches that Tesla insurance will and has caused for Tesla. Last year, Tesla was hit with an enforcement action by California's Department of Insurance. Tesla was accused of egregious delays in responding to policyholder claims, unreasonable denials, and engaging in unfair claims settlement practices. So again, it's a lot of headaches, it's a lot of regulatory red tape for Tesla that really doesn't need to be in this business. So I'm not ready to make this prediction, but I will say I will not be surprised if in 5 years Tesla insurance is no longer a thing. But that lack of surprise would be dependent on a company like Lemonade continuing to grow and scale across the country and doing so successfully. Because if Lemonade can do that, then why would Tesla put up with all of the challenges in what's traditionally a very low margin business? And the better autonomy gets, the lower those margins are likely to go. Cena Finance reported that Samsung's factory in Taylor, Texas is planning to begin trial operations of its EUV equipment in March this year, aiming to prepare for mass production of AI5 and AI6 in the second half of this year. The plant is planned to transition from a 4 nanometer process to a monthly production capacity of 50,000 2 nanometer wafers. Although Samsung's 2 nanometer yield has improved to about 50%, it still lags behind TSMC, and its technological maturity will directly impact the supply schedule to customers like Tesla. Phase 2 of the factory may begin production ahead of schedule due to increased orders. Samsung plans to install etching and deposition equipment in phases, with full production expected in the second half of this this year. Samsung is currently preparing to apply for a temporary occupancy permit from the relevant authorities in Texas to begin production before the factory is officially done. And to remember, deposition is just adding material to the wafer, and then etching, on the other hand, is removing or carving out material from the wafer. Construction at the Taylor fab is nearing completion. There's about 7,000 workers currently on site every day, with about 1,000 already working in the factory's office building. Overall progress has accelerated significantly compared to a year ago. Samsung has reserved land at the site to accommodate 10 more wafer fabs, demonstrating its long-term expansion strategy in the US. And if Samsung can secure more customer orders, the Taylor 2 factory, currently in early stages of construction, may begin operations ahead of schedule. And the timelines check out. We know Tesla's AI5 is nearing the completion of the design phase. And from there, it could be 6 to 9 months before it enters trial production. And given the report said Samsung is aiming to prepare for mass production, that's very likely to mean starting trial production of the AI5 chip in the second half of this year. Then roughly 1 year of getting the yield rates improved, and we should see AI5 out in the wild by the end of 2027. Joe Tetmeyer shared a video saying the Cortex-2 chiller systems in Austin are making quick progress. Part 1 has 4 of the 6 fan enclosures, pipe systems, and some exterior wall segments being installed. The overall height of this chiller is now significantly higher than the Cortex facility itself. Part 2 has almost 3 of the 4 walls poured with concrete, and overall it looks like parts 1 and 2 will be mirror images of each other with a total of 12 fan units, which would be double the current cooling capabilities of Cortex-1. So the brain of Optimus being constructed in real time, this is set to be a 500 megawatt site ready to go online sometime this summer. Tesla cleared up some FUD today, saying they have no plans to curb production or cut staff at Giga Berlin. This denying a media report that the workforce there had shrunk significantly over the past few years. In an email, Tesla said, compared to 2024, there's been no significant reduction in the number of permanent staff, nor are there any such plans. The message from factory management remains the situation and outlook at the Gigafactory are stable, especially with regard to employee jobs. Tesla did say it was completely normal to see some fluctuation at the nearly 4-year-old factory, adding the need for temporary workers had decreased since the initial ramp of production. I am so glad Elon shared this post responding to Sawyer talking about Cybercab production. Elon said, with the important caveat that initial production is always very slow and follows an S-curve. The speed of the production ramp is inversely proportionate to how many new parts and steps there are. For Cybercab and Optimus, almost everything is new, so the early production rate will be agonizingly slow, but everything ends up being insanely fast. To date, it feels like it's mostly just been me trying to temper production expectations with Cybercab and Optimus. But there's a reason why this year I'm only expecting a few thousand Cybercabs and maybe a few hundred, possibly a few thousand Optimi produced. This is exactly why, and it's right in line with everything at Tesla right now. It's slowly at first, sometimes painfully slow, then eventually at some point it will be all at once. So just prepare for the possible outcome that even if the 2,500 vehicle cap for those FMVSS regulations is not lifted this year, that Tesla doesn't even run into that limit this year with the Cybercab. I do actually think it's a reasonable outcome that Tesla ends up producing right around 2,500 Cybercabs for this whole year, which certainly won't win me any fans, but it really is what I'm expecting. ARK Invest put out an article about Tesla's FSD and changing the pricing model, and they said ARK does not include FSD subscriptions in our public Tesla valuation model, as we believe this business line will be dwarfed by its fleet-based robotaxi service, which could generate thousands of dollars in cash flow per car per year. According to ARK, Tesla's robotaxi business could account for around 90% of the company's enterprise value in 2029. And don't forget what Elon said last year, 80% of Tesla's value will be Optimus, which ARK Invest really hasn't even started factoring into its Tesla model. And of course, Elon's comment is looking more 10 plus years into the future, but I have a feeling when Tesla starts to ramp Optimus materially, I'm talking somewhere around 5 to 10,000 per month, I think Wall Street will start to price in a lot of those future cash flows much faster than one would expect. because at that point the business line will be validated, Wall Street can create their precious models, and it's really that confirmation that we're still waiting for when it comes to unsupervised, and that scaling to at least a few cities. I'm quite confident right now Wall Street is waiting for that confirmation. Tesla's Say questions are live for Q4 for the call that will be held next Wednesday, the 28th. Number one question, will long-term Tesla shareholders be prioritized if SpaceX IPOs? Elon will say he wants to, but he won't share any detail. Question 2, what's the current bottleneck to increase robotaxi deployment and personal use on supervised FSD? Which I think is a great question. Question 3, with Robotaxi Live, can you share early unit economics, approximate revenue and cost per mile, whether rides are contribution margin positive, and the main drivers and timeline to reach high margin scaled cash flows as the fleet grows and supervision drops. Regarding Optimus, could you share the current number of units deployed in Tesla factories and actively performing production tasks? What specific roles or operations are they handling, and how has their integration impacted factory efficiency or output? And one more, when is FSD going to be 100% unsupervised? Elon said AI is a supersonic tsunami, so I think it's fair to say he's seeing something out there right now. On these data centers in space that Tesla will likely play a big role in, John Carmack said, I wonder how the thinking on Kessler syndrome has evolved, where cascading collisions with debris makes orbit unusable. Kessler syndrome is just a scenario where orbital debris in LEO becomes high enough that collisions between them ultimately creates more debris, which then causes more collisions in this self-sustaining cycle. Another way to think of it, space waste. Elon said it's certainly an argument for staying low enough at first to allow atmospheric drag to clean things up. At least for the first several years, AI hardware will advance fast enough that an orbital lifetime of around 5 years is fine. Once you get far enough into space, it's just so absurdly vast that Kessler syndrome cannot happen due to extreme sparsity. Hunter said 2 years ago he invested in XAI at a $20 billion valuation, and now his investment has nearly 10x'd. Last week he invested in SpaceX at an $800 billion valuation, saying 100x seems possible. To which Elon said if we harness even a billionth of the sun's power for AI and robotics, it'll be over a 1000x return. Money won't mean much at that point. So if Elon is referring to the SpaceX part, which I think he is, an over 1000x return from SpaceX's market cap today would take it to an $800 trillion company. I honestly feel weird even sharing this. Farzad said Tesla, XAI, and SpaceX is the ultimate industrial scale synergistic cash flow generating flywheel behemoth, aka Elon can't lose. To which Elon said complacency is a sure path to defeat. Peter Diamandis said the marginal cost of intelligence is trending to zero, to which Elon said it will drop to a low number, but never zero. The cost will be measured in joules, which is why more and more people are saying it's all about the energy. Tesla has officially changed its mission to building a world of amazing abundance. Elon shared that saying universal high income. And one day we will talk about this a bit more in depth, but I would love to hear how you guys are thinking about this right now. Tesla stock closed the day at $431.44, up 2.91%, while the NDX was up 1.36%. The volume was 3% below the average. Don't forget, check out AG1 linked below, grab those freebies for those of you interested, and thank you in advance if you do. Hope you have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.